firstly, may I just say a big hi to everyone. I'm very happy to be here and to see so many people on a rainy day. I was also expecting very few people when, because it's been raining since the morning, but it's wonderful to be here. And one of my professors, Shilpa Farke, is here, who heads the Media Studies Department at TIS. Y'all are really doing some wonderful work, so thank you for that. The change for me happened because I was very restless doing the kind of work I was doing. It was early years of my career, and I was playing roles of the romantic interest in a lot of my early films. But it wasn't satisfying me. I wanted more substance. And therefore, after a lot of my films worked very well commercially, so I know that there were some people around me who said, why do you want to really topple the apple cart? Why don't you you're getting good work, continue to do it. I said, good work is very subjective. I feel like I'm not contributing anything. And I think I was feeling like I was sleepwalking through some of those roles in films because I felt it was this anyone can do. I was mistaken, I have to say, that there is great talent in doing what your quintessential Bollywood heroine does with conviction, but I couldn't do it. And at that point, I was offered a film called Ishqiya. The role of a woman who had agency. The role of a woman who owned her sexuality, who was very, she was, your femme fatale and all of that, but there was a simmering strength in her. When I was offered that role, I thought, oh my God, this is what I've been waiting for. But I was told that, it's not a commercial film. A female actor gets one such role in her career, which is of substance, and you do it and you get the awards and you go ahead. So I was like, whatever it is, I don't care. I'm doing this film. I remember they also felt, there were some people, when I say they, some people around you who mean well, but who don't necessarily, anyway. So I was told that it may be an art house film, and that distinction I've never understood. But I said, I'm going to go ahead and do the film. And I felt like it had just been 3 years since I started my career, and I felt like I was reborn as an actor. I felt like, oh my God, this is my purpose. I'm actually living another human being's life. It was not, I knew this person. It's not like sometimes I came out of films and I didn't know who I had played. It was that not well defined. But here I felt like she was a living, breathing woman who had this deep desire for revenge and did not stop at anything to get that. And I said, okay, now let's see how this film does, and then, if work comes my way, great, I'll do it. Otherwise, even if this is my so-called last film, so be it. But because I enjoyed the process, but I think I was at the right place at the right time, and things were turning around us. Suddenly, this process hasn't happened overnight. It's been happening, it's still happening. And in cinema, I really believe is a reflection of what happens around us. So that change was actually, now there were people who were writing stories where women were finding their voice, where women were coming of age, where women were, doing as they pleased with their bodies. And I think it was just one thing led to another. After Ishqiya, I got offered No One Killed Jessica, which was again, so I think it just set the ball in motion, and here I am. So it was not just about me. I think that change was actually happening all around us and was slowly, at that time, it got reflected in cinema. So I was very, very fortunate. success opens up opportunities for you because people are then, it's the business of cinema at the end of the day, and then people feel like, okay, maybe we can take a punt and invest in a film like this, for example, about a mathematician, Shakuntala Devi, or about a forest officer, Sherni. And these were backed by a very reputed production house, Vikram Malhotra, but also by Prime Video, which is something which is, I think that's noteworthy, right? And then now I'm doing a film called Niyat where I play a detective. So I think it's really about, those stories are being written because I wish I had the talent to write, I don't. But when those stories come to me, I grab them with all my might, which is why again and again I cannot emphasize that film is but a reflection of what's happening around us. The more, and OTT platforms have definitely opened up the canvas for us to be able to tell women-led stories. I do think that the reason women-led stories are so personal and yet we're not talking about war and those kind of things yet in a big way is because our stories are just being told. It is our personal experiences. It's, we are still, a small fraction of us is still living our lives the way we want to. There are still so many women who look at these films and say, oh my God, maybe I could go off on my honeymoon on my own. It's still, it's at a very nascent stage. Before we concern ourselves with worldly issues, I think it's about what's happening with ourselves, with our bodies, with our dreams, with our families, about how we are navigating our lives, I think, which is why it's more personal, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. But, when, in my case, I've had the opportunity to do that, for example, in Mission Mangal, where I played a scientist celebrating the mission to Mars, where there were so many women scientists involved. I think it's fantastic because there you got to see both sides. They're not women who are only scientists, like I don't mean to I want to say this correctly, I hope I am, but they are homemakers also, but they are scientists. They're planning and executing the biggest mission from ISRO at that point of time. So I think it's fantastic that we're telling these stories, because on our lives we're not divorced from our personal lives, from what happens at home. Like in Mission Mangal, that scientist is making rotis that day at home because her maid hasn't shown up, and she's having to make sure that the electricity bill is paid and her father-in-law's medicines are laid out for him, and then she goes to execute this big mission. Whereas with most men, the reality is that they don't have to do that, and that's unfortunate, but we'll get to that in another, hopefully, 50 years. I don't think I'm in a position to furnish solutions like that, but it has to be holistic. It has to be, and I don't see why it's a bad thing if women are hiring more women. Eventually that will percolate into the men-led films also. I am seeing that change there. For example, on Mission Mangal, we had far many more women than I've seen on any commercial film, behind the scenes. And I am seeing more DOPs, editors, and so I was a bit surprised when you said, actually, and writers, I was a bit surprised when it said that there are not as many scriptwriters or editors, women scriptwriters or editors, but I think the change is happening. What we all have to do is look at a person for their ability to what they bring to the table and not judge them by their gender, whatever it is. I know it's easier said than done. We're working against the, it's a lifetime of conditioning, but, and I think within the industry, I know of lots of people who are making small efforts, but I think every drop makes the ocean, right? So everything will contribute to bringing about change. फ़र्क है पहले से। जितनी ज़्यादा हम इस बारे में बात करेंगे, जागरूकता फैलेगी और बदलाव आएगा। तो मैं आई एम वेरी होपफुल दैट थिंग्स आर चेंजिंग फॉर द बेटर। जितनी हमारी कहानियाँ पर्दे पर नहीं बन पाती, वो OTT के लिए तो बना पा रहे हैं हम, क्योंकि OTT पर हर तरह का ऑडियंस है। थिएटर में जब, हालांकि मुझे दुख होता है जब कोई कहता है कि अच्छा इस टाइप की फिल्म थिएटर में नहीं चलेगी, पर एटलीस्ट वो कहानी सुना तो पा रहे हैं हम।